glad that we still have some people here with us, so thank you very much for staying. This will be very interesting because we're going to hear from niche or niche organizations, depending on how you pronounce it, but I pronounce it niche because I always think of riches in the niches. There's actually a book by that name, and in the small business world, there is riches in the niches. So we're going to hear from some niche organizations today. Before I introduce my panel, though, I'd like to share a few things about what we do at Small Business Trends, and I have 5 trends that I want to share with you. Because what we do is we are an online publishing company. So think of Business Week, think of Forbes, think of Fortune, but think of it as being all online and all using alternative means of publishing. So we use blogs, we use social media sites, we use Twitter, we publish on Facebook, all these places that you may hear about. Maybe you visited them, maybe you haven't, but it's where a lot of small businesses, entrepreneurs are congregating today. And as we're out there and we're engaging with people online, we notice trends. So I want to share 5 with you, and then we'll jump to our esteemed panel. So the first trend is world entrepreneurs are tech savvy, and they are more tech savvy than you may even think. And the reason for that is the internet, the web, is their outreach to the world. Whether it's for getting information to help them run their businesses, whether it's connecting and getting mentorship with others, often they're doing this online, whether it is reaching out to new markets. Technology, and in particular, the internet and the web, are key. Second thing is what I call the rise of the invisible business. Now, my business is one of these so-called invisible businesses. And what I mean by that is that these are businesses that in the stream of commerce are much more significant than their size might indicate if you were to measure them on typical size measurements. So typically, you might measure them based on number of employees. Well, many of these invisible businesses have 0 employees. And like my business, they may be 7-figure-a-year businesses. But they have 0 employees, but what they're doing is they're hiring a lot of service providers and a lot of freelancers, independent contractors. In other words, what they're doing is they're hiring other small businesses. They have no office, or maybe they use a shared office space. They're probably operating out of their homes. And if you look at the official statistics, they may not even show up as a business, but they could be quite a significant business. There are businesses pulling in $10, $12 million a year that operate this way. Online businesses, for example. So just keep that in mind. Third is private sector interest in the small business market, meaning private businesses, is still off the charts. And it has been, even throughout the recession. And one of the things for educators to keep in mind is that private businesses are going after younger entrepreneurs and younger businesses because they want to develop brand loyalty very, very early. So they're going after student businesses, and not even in college, in high school, in grade school even. You'll see companies that are supporting programs at that level. And they're also even giving away product to the very young startups because they give us perhaps a light product, and then they actually want to develop loyalty. Alternative education, these are alternative universities. We see a lot of those online, or places where people get education online. And they're serving these niche interests. And finally, social media, such as Twitter and Facebook and so on, is bringing visibility to women-owned businesses, immigrant businesses, minority businesses, older-owned businesses. And it's a very simple thing. If you go out to Twitter or Facebook you see pictures of the business owner, and suddenly you're faced with the fact that you're looking at people of color, you're looking at older people, you're looking at women, and you see in very visible ways these interesting business segments that you might not otherwise have visible in another way. So that those 5 trends, and I would like to introduce my panel. Directly next to me, we have Sheena Liddell, and she is with the Extreme Entrepreneurship Education. We have Leslie Scott next to her, Director of the Institute for Rural Entrepreneurship. We have William Scott Green next to Leslie, and he is the Senior Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Education at the University of Miami. And we have Kevin Langley on the far end. He is the Chairman-elect of the Entrepreneurs Organization. So let's give a big round of applause. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to spend 5 minutes, and we'll start with Sheena.
What I'd like to report today is that we consider a new point on the continuum of entrepreneurship education that we talk about. Right now, when we talk about that continuum, we talk about starting with the supporting individuals who are interested in entrepreneurship. And the reality is that on a lot of our campuses, there is really only a small percentage of people who are interested in entrepreneurship and who are going to start taking action on that right now. And there's this huge majority of people on campuses who are not exposed to entrepreneurship. They don't have parents who are entrepreneurs. They don't have teachers who have exposed them to entrepreneurship. They don't have mentors. And because of this, they either don't know about entrepreneurship or they don't view it as something that's possible for themselves. And I think that new point on that continuum is that exposure. And possibly part of the reason we're missing that on our continuum right now is because it's so hard to measure. It's not as easy as the number of new businesses started, because the exposure doesn't always have immediate results. It can take months or years of a seed being planted before you actually see those results, or it can it can take multiple points of exposure before those results are seen. And so as a result, we kind of sometimes push that whole idea of exposure away. And what my insight from Extreme Entrepreneurship and what we've been doing with our tour and our virtual speaker series is that it is kind of a new, powerful way to expose all of those people who haven't yet been exposed to entrepreneurship. And for those of you who don't know what we do, the Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour brings top young entrepreneurs to college campuses to share their experiences and lessons learned. A lot of the entrepreneurs that were here today, and I know a lot of you already know about this because I see a lot of prior hosts in the event today. And our virtual speaker series continues that with monthly re-exposures through a virtual interview broadcast that goes in depth into different concepts. So I wanted to share some of the different insights that we've come up with through this. And the first insight that I wanted to share is that exposure, especially that first exposure, really does well as an experience. Something that's memorable, something that's exciting and high energy. And the reason that that's so important is because that first exposure to entrepreneurship is what people associate with entrepreneurship throughout the rest of their career. So when they have positive associations, when they get those little key insights that shift their entire paradigm about what they think is possible for themselves, that's what's going to plant the seed of what is possible to do in the future. And so it can't just be another lecture, another idea about, it's something that's dry. It needs to be really exciting, really memorable experience. And then the second thing is that we really need to inform these potential entrepreneurs. And when I say inform in this case, it's not about informing them in how to create, how to go through the trademark process or how to go through the intricacies of accounting. Not at this stage. At this stage, what it's about is informing them on that it's possible and showing them role models that show it's possible. And what we do with the Extreme Entrepreneurship Tour when we bring in the top young entrepreneurs is we're really trying to find role models for them that they can relate to. When we're working with rural communities, we bring in people who can connect from that rural angle. When we work with urban, it's the urban angle. When it's engineering school, we bring in entrepreneurs because it's really important that they can relate so that they can have that shift in what they're thinking about. And that's also why I think that the youth component is really important when you're talking with students. And that's been probably one of our biggest insights. And this is nothing against age. There's so much to be learned from the wisdom of older entrepreneurs, no doubt on that. But what's missing is that when students look at that, they think, yeah, I could do that someday. I can do that someday. Yeah, I'll do that when I got more contacts, when I got more money, when I built my network, got my education, gotten a lot of experience behind me. And they never actually take the steps to collect all of those resources. But by bringing role models who are their age, so they can't use that as a reason for why they're not doing something right now, they can see that yes, I can actually do it right now. And they start taking the steps to collect all of those resources that they need to be successful. And I think that's really what sets apart some of the tour speakers from just anyday average students on campus. And I really think that there's a big opportunity here for us to look at exposure, not as something that's fluff, that's just not important, but to really legitimize that and to stand behind it as a key component, a key pillar in the valuable pillar that it really is in entrepreneurship education.
Thank you very much, Sheena.